In our consumer alert, gas prices are likely going up in the coming months. They were already starting to rise slightly. Then the oil producing countries and OPEC Plus voted yesterday to reduce production in November. Amy Kiley has more on how that decision could trigger a series of financial woes on your wallets.
Obviously, it's not good to have gas prices going up.
What might be less obvious is what other economic dominoes could fall as a result. It starts with the OPEC Plus decision to slash oil production by 2 million barrels a day starting next month. That's more than expected and the largest cut since the pandemic began.
Everything has a price. Energy security has a price as well.
That threatens to increase the cost of gas in the U.S.
Less supply of crude oil equals less supply of gasoline. Less supply of gasoline at current demand levels equals higher prices.
Retailers paying more for shipping could pass on the cost to consumers, and broader inflation could affect interest rates.
When higher oil prices are putting pressure on inflation, the Federal Reserve really has to keep rate hikes going.
These dominoes are starting to fall right before voters head to the polls for the midterms.
It is an inconvenience. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's not just affecting me. It affects the whole world.
There's only so much control any American president has over gas prices, but voters blame the people in charge when gas prices go higher.
Some allege the timing isn't a coincidence, but a ploy from the leaders of Russia and Saudi Arabia.
Vladimir Putin and MBS are essentially trying to interfere in our election through these actions using OPEC.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
And amid this potential chain of events, some energy analysts say that they see a reason to be hopeful. They point out that the global oil market could be oversupplied until the end of the year, and that could weaken the impact of OPEC's production cuts. Well, Ford Motor says that rising manufacturing costs are promoting it to raise the base price of its electric F-150 Lightning pickup truck by $5,000 to just under $52,000. Now, a Ford spokesperson says that the move is due to ongoing supply chain constraints, rising material costs, and other market factors. Customers who have already pre-ordered the 2023 F-150 will not be affected by this price hike. And when it comes to phones, the new Google Pixel 7 smartphone has been unveiled. Officials say that the Pixel 7 has updated features on its camera, screen, and battery, and the phones come in 3 different colors: lemon, grass, obsidian, and snow. Now, the price range will start at $599, and Google also displayed its first ever Pixel smartwatch that has health features from Fitbit. And Amazon is looking to hire some holiday help. The company says that it's hoping to add 150,000 people nationwide. The job openings include full-time, seasonal, and part-time positions. Officials made the announcement just a few days before Amazon rolls back prices during a shopping event for Prime subscribers. The company says that sign-on bonuses will be offered to those who accept holiday positions, and those could vary from $1,000 to $3,000.